In this video, we're going to look at how working memory impacts students with motor difficulties, or motor dyspraxia. Students with motor difficulties or dyspraxia have two kinds of difficulties with movement. They have trouble with large body movements, so they would have a hard time using these monkey bars here behind me. They also have trouble with fine motor skills, things like tying up a shoelace or doing up buttons on a coat. Both of those kinds of activities will be very difficult for a student with motor problems. What does their working memory look like? I recently did some research on this topic, and I found that students with motor problems have very poor visual working memory. Do you remember that test with the shapes with the red dot? They have a hard time doing that test. The whole activity of remembering something visual, manipulating or processing visual information, putting it all together, becomes very difficult for a student with motor problems. What about intervention? What can we do to support these students? That's what I looked at in a different project. I had two groups of students with motor problems. Both of them also had learning problems. This group over here did some intervention that involved physical activity, things like brain gym. You might be aware of brain gym. Some of the activities I used in my research project was where they had to touch their hand to their nose with their eyes closed, do figure eights in the air, even things like balancing, catching a ball, throwing a ball. They spent 13 weeks doing those kinds of activities. The other group of students who also had motor problems, they carried on as usual. At the end of the 13 weeks, my question was, would the intervention that consisted of motor skills, physical activity, would it make a difference to these students? I found that these students' motor skills improved. They were better at touching their nose, they were better at drawing the figure eights, even their throwing and their catching skills improved. But when I looked at their working memory, when I looked at their IQ, and more importantly, when I looked at their grades, I found no improvement at all. In other words, if we're just going to target motor skills for these students, we're only going to see a limited effect. We're only going to see gains in their motor skills, how they tie their shoelaces, how they use a monkey bar. We're not going to see any improvements in their grades at all. And as a result, I'm working with the National Dyspraxia Foundation in the UK to look at using jungle memory with their students. We have a cohort of students that are currently training with the program to investigate how effectively we can target training their working memory to see improvements in their grades as well.